what's going on, everybody? It's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to our special 25th anniversary celebration and discussion of Filter's classic album, Title of Record, which came out back on this day, August 24th, 1999, 25 years ago. And for this episode on the channel, I'm joined by a very special guest. I'm joined by my better half, Miss Danielle Lee. How are you, Danielle?
I'm tired. How are you?
I'm tired too, but we're here to talk about Filter. Actually, we had you on the channel, what was it? I guess a couple of months ago when we talked about our favorite Canadian bands for Canada Day. That was a fun video.
It was, yeah, back in July.
Yeah.
That was a fun video. I named a couple that may not have counted.
It's okay, it all counts.
But yeah, that was a fun video. And then our last video talking about the Incubus 23.
Yeah, 23rd, Morning View.
Yep, 23rd. That was a good one too. It was a trip down memory lane for that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're definitely due for this chat.
We're due for this chat talking about Filter's Title of Record. But right up front, even though we are both Filter fans and we are definitely fans of the singles that came from Title of Record, this was actually our first listen through of the entire Title of Record.
Yep, guilty as charged. Back when I was a wee teen, I didn't know all of the songs. Of course, like I knew just like a couple of the singles, but yeah, really happy to dive deep into listening to this whole album. I think it deserves that attention. And it was an interesting listen. So really excited to talk about some of the points about this one.
I think with reviewing albums on YouTube, especially on this channel, is that Spotify has made things a lot easier for reviewing records, because like you're saying, you didn't have the whole album back in 1999, because back in 1999, if you wanted to listen to this album, you had to probably ask your parents for $30 at least, maybe like to go buy the CD over at HMV. So that really, unless you were totally invested in buying this record, chances are you really wouldn't have listened to it back in the day. And that's kind of the same thing for me. I definitely knew the singles of it, but not enough to actually go buy the CD at the time.
Pretty much the same. Not only did you need $30 to go buy the album, but you also needed a ride from mom or dad to get there, because I was 13 years old.
Yeah. So you couldn't just drive yourself to the not really the record store. You couldn't really buy records back then in 1999. It was definitely the CD store, the music store.
Yeah, the music store, like HMV. Even Best Buy was like a big player of physical media back then. Future Shop, for anybody that is around our age, you remember Future Shop. That was a big place. I'm going off tangent here, but yeah, I required $30, a ride, and some appreciation and maturity for the actual album.
Some definite resources that we have now, but maybe lacked when we were teenagers.
Yeah, basically.
When this came out.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do with this album, Title of Record, is we're going to talk about our history with Filter and what we knew about the band before Title of Record came out in 1999, and then talk about some of our thoughts about listening to Title of Record in full for the first time for both of us, and then we're going to pick some of our favorite tracks that we like from this record, and just have some fun talking about Filter. So Danielle, I'm going to go to you first. What was your relationship and your history with Filter as a band prior or when this album came out in 1999?
Pretty much nothing. I was 13 years old, so I'm pretty sure I didn't really know much about Filter at the time. I'm going to say maybe when it was around, like I was maybe around 15 is when I noticed them. I think I was like probably like focused on Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and Five Live. Yeah. So at that age, but then like I quickly got into like a lot of heavy stuff as I got older. So again, not much of a history with Filter, but when Take a Picture came out, that's when I was like, oh, all right, this is going to be one of my favorite songs for the rest of my life. And not to mention like the music video. So the first time I actually heard Take a Picture was by the music video, and I remember being so captivated by the music video because it's so visually appealing. So
classic 90s music video.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but unfortunately not much of a history with Filter until I was into more of my adult age. Actually, when you and I started hanging out, you kind of brought this album back to my attention. And that's kind of when I started paying a little bit more attention to it and the songs on it. And then I started recognizing some of the songs I may have heard on like Much Music, but didn't realize, being 13, that it was them. So, yeah, kind of like a limited history, but definitely in my adult age, like I listen to them frequently now, especially this album. And I think it's actually kind of a statement for them to title this record Title of Record. It's kind of like, we have nothing to say but the music.
Right. It's not pretentious or anything like that. It
Yeah.
doesn't have a crazy album title.
They didn't even take like a line out of a song to name the album. It's literally just called title of record, which is cheeky as fuck.
Yeah, that is very, very cool of them to do that.
Yeah.
Well, Richard Patrick is not to say that he has his own attitude, right? He's not necessarily a pushover or anything like that. He's definitely a singer and a songwriter with a lot of attitude, which comes across on this record.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like a big part of this is like this album being one of their first albums is I think Richard Patrick is actually known for being in Nine Inch Nails. So I think like him even trying to distinguish himself even more from being in Nine Inch Nails is more evident on an album like this and albums after.
Yeah. For sure.
is really cool.
Yeah, establishing himself as his own artist for sure.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
No, go for it.
And I also had no idea that Richard Patrick was fucking T-1000's brother until you told me, and that blew my mind. Did anyone else know that?
The Patrick brothers, yeah, for sure.
I had no idea. Literally, my mind exploded, and I was like, that is too fucking cool.
Right, yeah.
And then I'm like, yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
I was like, I can see it now. But had you not told me, I would have never made the connection.
Yeah, it's a cool relationship.
Cool.
Very
Yeah.
could
Could you imagine just being like, yeah, my bro's T-1000?
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm the singer in a badass rock band, and my brother's a Terminator. How could anybody mess with you after that? That's the question.
He was the liquid metal guy in Terminator.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't fuck with that.
Basically unbeatable.
Yeah.
In every single way. Well, I did know. I don't really remember when I knew that Richard Patrick and Robert Patrick were brothers. But there's a fun connection there as well because Richard Patrick, I definitely knew a Filter from Short Bus, which was their debut album, which came out in 1995. I'd probably seen or heard. Everything around that time is a reference to Much Music because we were both teenagers around the time in 1999. I was 16 years old in 1999, so I was always watching Much Music, and so I became familiar with them probably by seeing the "Hey Man, Nice Shot" video on Much Music, and then obviously knowing that Richard Patrick was a member of Nine Inch Nails before Filter, and then Filter released. They had a really big relationship with the X-Files TV show because they had a song called "Hey Bro," which was released on one of the X-Files soundtracks, and then they had a cover of Three Dog Night's "One," which was on the X-Files Fight the Future soundtrack, which was a big soundtrack for me in 1998 because it had all my favorite bands. It had Noel Gallagher on it. It had Foo Fighters on it, Filter on it, and so I bought that.
It's quite the lineup.
It's quite the lineup. I bought that CD in 1998, so I was familiar with their cover of "One" from that record, and then they released "Can't You Trip Like I Do," which was on the Spawn soundtrack in '97.
I love that song.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of how I was familiar with it. So coming into listening to title record when that came out, when "Welcome to the Fold," the first single from this record, hit Much Music, when it hit video on TV, that was such a huge standout for me. Even before Take a Picture, like "Welcome to the Fold," I knew right from the get-go when I saw that video on Much Music that that was an amazingly badass rock song. So that was kind of where I was at with Filters, like not necessarily a huge fan, but enough to know who they were. And so when this album came out, I was kind of primed to like it.
Yeah, and I think like there's a 3-year age difference between us too. And we were talking about it earlier. Like when this album title of record came out, you were 16 and I was 13. And even though it's 3 years, like at that time in your life, it's a huge difference. Like when Short Bus came out, I was 9 years old. Yeah. What am I going to be doing listening to that at 9 years old?
Yeah, 9-year-old girl is going to be listening to Filter's Short Bus.
After I'm done listening to the Barney soundtrack, I'm going to listen to Short Bus.
Yeah, exactly. That's not, that connection's not going to happen.
That's exactly it. So like I it's only possible for me to appreciate like albums like Short Bus, like obviously in my age now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Because like I would have been like, what is this? This is so loud, Mom.
Yeah, exactly.
At 9 years old, listening to Short Bus.
Right, that's not going to happen.
No.
Yeah, and for me too. Like even in '95, I was getting into music, but not quite there. I was starting to watch Much Music and that kind of thing. But when Filter came out with this record, I was definitely the right age for it.
And I think like just kind of as a sidetrack, like Much Music was such a pivotal thing for us to rely on to learn about new music and learn about which bands that we like and to like kind of help us define ourselves musically as people. Like who do we like music videos had so much more of an impact back then than they do now. It's kind of just a shit show of like how ridiculous can you be in these music videos, whereas like back then it was like I think it was a little bit more genuine because a music video was part of the song. itself. Like, when you would hear the song, you would normally associate it with the music video, and that was
Right.
like the whole, I guess, the whole marketing piece of it. But I just find that music videos, I watched them a lot back then, couldn't care less about them now.
They're kind of an afterthought now. The music is always number one, but you're right. There isn't really that association between the visuals and the music anymore. Like you're saying, when you think back to a classic song from the 1990s, you have that visually in your head, the video.
Yeah, exactly.
But not anymore. You know.
Like, for example, I'm going to remember the music video for "Take a Picture" for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to remember like a music video by like Taylor Swift. Sorry.
Well, sorry. Don't incur the wrath of the Swifties. That'll be bad. But we'll see. It's okay. We're talking about Filter, not Taylor Swift.
I know. For dramatic effect.
Yes.
I'm just saying that, like, there's this weird kind of indescribable nostalgia about the music at that time, which includes the music videos, and watching it on rotation on Much Music, and seeing the video come up and seeing the caption of, you know, the name of the song and the album, and it's like there's just something about that time you can't mess with.
Yeah.
Which makes albums like this really special.
Yeah, for sure. And 25 years, that makes us feel old as fuck. So 25 years. But this is the first listen. So Danielle, let's go to you. Let's talk about your first impressions, because like we said, we know the singles very well from this record. Welcome to the Fold, Take a Picture, The Best Things.
Yeah.
But what did you think of this album as your first listen through of the entire thing?
Industrial as fuck.
It is very industrial, for
like
sure.
immediately, like I heard the Nine Inch Nails right away. Not to say that like he was taking from it, but it like they're in the same genre around the same time. So just like it actually kind of reminded me of Econoline Crush a little bit.
Right, a great Canadian rock band for anybody in the out there outside of Canada who doesn't know Econoline Crush, but yeah, that's totally a good comparison.
Right, yeah, and it's just kind of like the kind of hard hitting drums that sound a little bit mechanical.
Yeah.
For me. So when I was trying to be genuine as possible about the first thing that came to my mind when I heard this album was industrial as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. that's about it, and really in your face.
Yeah, very
We'll
in
talk
your
about
face.
that a bit more
But
later.
still, but like Richard Patrick too, like we know you're saying the industrial side of things, the Nine Inch Nails side of things, the big guitars, the big drums, the heavy side of things. But really, there's quite a bit of soft stuff on here as well. When you think "Take a Picture" was this huge hit in '99,
yeah.
like it's an acoustic driven song. There's there's barely any electric guitar in there, so it really shows his versatility, that he's able to jump between like the heavy stuff and the acoustic stuff too.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It's he's a very talented vocalist, and I really only appreciated his vocal ability and diversity and whatever you want to call it after listening to this album. Like, you know, on songs like "Welcome to the Fold," like you could tell he's giving it his all.
Oh yeah,
He's really giving it his all. We talked about this a little bit earlier before we recorded that screaming is all throat.
yep.
You know, if like, you know, you hit that note earlier.
Yeah, I
when
was
you were-
trying to do a YouTube short and I was trying to record it.
Yeah.
We'll see if it actually ends up. I got to go through the audio to see if I actually hit the note. But that is when he goes, you know, you feel A-O-K. Like
Yeah,
that is a huge note to hit.
Oh, for sure. That's like all throat. We were talking about this earlier. Like, if I were to try to do it, I would have to curate that scream. Like,
Yeah,
I'd
like
have
do it in
to-
your head voice, maybe a little
you'd
more
have-
than your throat.
Yeah, it would be like coming from lower. Like, I'd have to actually create it. I couldn't just like, ah.
Yeah. That is, yeah, that would be, no, I don't even know. I've never seen Richard Patrick or Filter live, so I don't know if even he hits that note, because that is a tall order for any vocalist to do that
100%.
consistently every night.
That's actually a great point. And I wonder how many times they did that take when they recorded this album. I'm very curious, and you know, it'd be very interesting to see if he could hit that note now.
Yeah.
You know, like he's in his 50s now, right?
Well, yeah, he put out an album last year around this time. It was called The Algorithm, and his voice is still good, but maybe obviously not quite as on par as it was 25 years ago, but he's still pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you though. Like to even get close to being able to hit those notes now,
Yeah,
like
that'd be tough.
all the praise to you, brother.
But the thing you were saying too is like the industrial side of things, and I was thinking that this album really is. It sounds modern. I don't think it sounds super dated,
Yep,
but it is
definitely
really
modern.
is a time capsule of like everything that it was cool about late '90s rock. Like everybody at that time this is the time of the late 1990s. So obviously there was great rock bands, but you also had, the Chemical Brothers. You had the Crystal Method, which he did with on the song on the Spawn soundtrack, Trip Like I Do. Yep. So with that, so there's always that mix of a lot of bands trying to mix electronica with rock. Electronica was a huge thing in the late 1990s, and Oasis did things like that. Smashing Pumpkins did things like that, where they mixed together those elements. And so we were saying mixing together the drum loops, the electronica drum loops, the fusion. We were like making a comparison to Savage Garden that we might get to a little bit later. But I don't. The Prodigy, you're saying, those great electronic groups from the late 1990s. But I do think the production on this sounds really good. It sounds really crisp. It still sounds pretty modern. For 25 years later, it doesn't really sound like the sound quality is not up to par with what we're listening to.
The quality's there
nowadays. Then another thing too is the songs on this album. This is a long album. Even the singles on this record are really long. Welcome to the Fold, which is the first single, it was 7 minutes and 40 seconds. So that is like Oasis level, do you know what I mean, levels of like long first singles. Take a Picture, the album version, is 6 minutes and 3 seconds. So obviously the radio edit is out there, but it's pretty ballsy to make your big single on the record 6 minutes long.
Well, further to your point, I think that they knew they had a hit, which is why they kind of were able to do it. They knew they had the hit. We're talking about Take a Picture, right?
Yep.
They knew they had a hit with that one, so they were like, you know what? Like, it doesn't matter how long the song is. We'll cut it down, obviously, for the music video, but like, they knew they had a hit because it kind of slightly deviates away from the sound of the rest of the album, which is kind of like really in your face, hard hitting, thrashing, like, I'm here. Whereas like Take a Picture is kind of like a bit of a step away from that. It's still very much Filter, but it's very much that hit.
Well, it's typical because you can see the record label or any record label going to them and saying, okay, great, this is an awesome hard rock album, industrial electronic album, but
we need the hit.
And I think any rock band at the time, or even any rock band now, or any artist now, knows that you need to hit. And even with Filter, with Short Bus, they were successful, but with Take a Picture, when this title record came out, that changed things, I'm sure, for Richard Patrick and for the band for quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, and like I'm thinking about it now as you're talking, I think that if they're, when a band is tasked with creating a hit so they can become popular, noticed, I'm kind of losing my thought here.
Well, it's a breakthrough into the mainstream, really.
It is. There's something I'm trying to say here, and like I'm just not really sure how to articulate it. But a band knows what they have to do in order to create a hit.
It's not selling out. I think it's just knowing that you have to, if you want to reach mainstream success, that you need a big hit. Every band has that crossover song. You think about, I always go back to Oasis, obviously this channel, but their Wonderwall.
Yeah.
I think Take a Picture would be Filter's Wonderwall.
Absolutely.
It would be their breakthrough.
The question is why? Why is Take a Picture the Wonderwall?
Because I think, like you're saying, a great song is a great song. I think the label and I think the band knew at the time that it would be a big hit. They had a lot of potential with that song, with the band. So I think bands know. I think producers know. Everybody knows within the process of making a record that there are certain songs that have the potential to be big hits.
Well, I guess further to that point, if you put Welcome to the Fold next to Take a Picture, someone who's never heard of Filter before, what would you surmise which song, would be like the one that's stuck in their head?
Well, it's like there's a certain strategy behind it, because Take a Picture was not the first single.
No.
It was the second single. So obviously they knew that when they wanted to put out a first song to make the first song is your statement.
Yeah.
Right. So I think in that statement was Welcome to the Fold, because this is the big rock song, has a lot of potential. It's in your face. It's super catchy.
Yep.
It shows people what Filter is. And then you go into Take a Picture, which showed the other side of them and really sealed the deal, so to speak.
For sure. Yeah. Because the tracks basically up until Take a Picture are all Richard Patrick kind of given that raspy, screaming, that raw kind of like rock. And then you get Take a Picture, which is still very much rock, and he's got some real like, hey Dad, what do you think? Like he does that
it's
like
huge.
In Take a Picture, but it works and it's effective. And obviously I'm having some trouble with my words today and like describing things, but maybe when we go song by song, it'll be a little bit easier to talk about Articulate.
Articulate for sure. Well,
Remember, I'm tired.
Yeah, let's talk about our favorite tracks listening to Title of Records. So Danielle, what were your favorite tracks from Title of Records? I would say we knew maybe about half of this record going in, roughly. Maybe the other half we didn't. So what would you say were your favorite tracks?
Yeah, let me just cheat here and look
at your notes.
Look at my notes.
Look at your notes.
Okay, well, obviously, like, take a picture.
You're talking, well, it's a great song. Like,
it is.
It really
and you know
is.
What? I was once criticized for liking that song because it's overplayed. Okay, like, let's talk about what overplayed means.
Overplayed. There is no such thing as a guilty pleasure, as they say. If you like a song, you can listen to that song as many times as you want, forever. Nobody should put a cap on how many times you should play something. And yes, it was a very everything was overplayed back then. If it was on the radio or on Much Music, you were hearing it all the time.
But what does overplayed mean?
Well, it just gets played a lot. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, I mean, is frequency of play considered, like, just because it's on a lot doesn't mean it's overplayed? Are there any videos that are underplayed? So, like, when someone makes the argument that, like...
Welcome to the Fold is underplayed.
Okay. That's fair enough, I guess.
Take a picture is anything like that, a big single like that, it gets played a lot because it's not just featured.
Because people like it.
Yeah,
and
it's a good song.
Yeah, and, like, they're going to give the people what they want to hear.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't... A great song is a great song, as you mentioned, right? So, like... The criticism of, like, you know, it's an overplayed song, therefore it's not very good is totally invalid in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And you have to also consider the source.
Yeah, I don't think he's saying that it's overplayed is saying that it's not good. It's just maybe it's lost its luster over time. But I think because
no, it hasn't.
It gets played in, you know, at the time it was definitely played everywhere. It was on Much Music. It was on radio.
Play it more.
Probably played on soundtracks. It was played in commercials.
Play it more.
But Danielle cannot get enough to take a picture. So we obviously know that's one of your favorite tracks on the record. What about
absolutely
another one?
So definitely gonna say Best Things and Welcome to the Fold.
Oh yeah.
Best Things, let's just see here. So Welcome to the Fold, we'll talk about that one first because it's like the second song on the album.
Love that song. So good.
And like I was just thinking as we were listening to the album, like they couldn't have picked a better opening song. I mean, they had that kind of like intro at the beginning, which I thought was slightly out of place, but
kind of unnecessary.
Kind of unnecessary, but then it segued into Welcome to the Fold, which now it's making a little bit more sense to me because the opening track, Sand, it was kind of unexpected. It reminds me of, okay, this is the note that I had. It reminds me of music that they would play during the movie The Mist when nobody knows what the fuck that monster thing is that's taking everybody out. That's what I got because there's a really creepy like violin in it or some kind of like stringed instrument. But it's interesting that, you know, they incorporated this as their opening track. But what I think maybe they were doing was they were trying to, like I said, create the segue into Welcome to the Fold with this kind of quiet intro to give you like, okay, here's like the start of the album, and then out of nowhere, Welcome to the Fold just goes boom.
Oh yeah, just that opening, like, you know. Oh yeah, gets you right in the balls.
Exactly. Yes, right in the balls. Exactly. Right in the tatas, I guess.
Yes. Some sort of round organ. Yes.
Organ where it hurts.
Yeah.
So yeah, Welcome to the Fold. Definitely, they couldn't have picked like a better opening track in my opinion. It's just like, you know, it's really in your face with the ultra heavy hitting riffs, and actually it's an unforgettable riff in my opinion.
It's like, crazy good. Yeah,
you can't forget that, and it's prevalent throughout the whole song. To me, it doesn't get repetitive at all somehow, even though that's the main kind of riff in the whole song. It doesn't get repetitive. It just works. Yeah, and those are kind of the notes that I had on Welcome to the Fold. We talked about like that scream that he does where it sounds like it's straight throat rather than you know, from the inside, so that must have really been tough, and I wonder how many takes they had to do with that. And I also kind of made me wonder what his vocal preparation is like for something like that. He knows he's going to be doing
you gotta do your lip trills for that.
Yeah, but like he knows, like obviously he went into recording that track knowing that he was going to do that screaming from the throat, not from within. So I'm like just wondering, you know, if I were to interview Filter, I'd be like, Mr. Patrick.
Mr. Patrick.
Yes, when you go to prepare for songs where you know you're going to be screaming by throat, is there any... Because, like, I get it, too. Like, a different sounding scream is achieved when it's coming from the throat or it's coming from a little bit more
from the diaphragm.
yeah, from the more kind of like textbook way that a singer would do it. So I don't know if he wanted to achieve a certain kind of rawness with doing it by throat, but it's very evident, which is again lends to his vocal credibility. Also, I love the nature of the lyrics. I think another reason why this song is one of my favorites, in addition to being the best selection for opening the record, is the "fuck you" lyrics. Basically, he's telling somebody to F off.
You think you're precious and I think you're shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kill your father's seed. Like those are like those words cut. So he's talking to somebody that he doesn't like very much. If I could just go up to somebody and say, I think you're shit, that would be pretty fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just play in this song.
Yeah, so I feel like it's, listening to the song is kind of like, you know what, listening to him like telling somebody off is kind of like therapeutic, because you're like, yeah, like whoever you're telling off, they really deserve it.
Yeah, welcome to the fold, motherfucker.
Yeah, basically, and you can hear that scathing in his voice, right? You can hear the scathing in the lyrics. It's really quite awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So
welcome to the fold is a definite highlight.
Welcome to the fold for sure. And then obviously I'm being a little bit typical here. The Best Things is another favorite song. So we've talked about Take a Picture, Welcome to the Fold, and The Best Things.
The three singles.
The three singles.
The best songs on the record.
Yeah, and I did listen to the album. I have another couple notes on actually another song that I liked a lot, Captain Bligh, but we'll talk about that after. So The Best Things, this is the song where you said it sounded like a Savage Garden intro.
Yeah, it did.
And it actually did. And I laughed so hard when you said that, because I was like, it's true. Savage Garden is a completely different genre than Filter, but you can definitely hear it at the beginning of that song, which was a really good call out. And in addition to like your point on it sounding like Savage Garden, I also got a bit of Prodigy at the beginning, with definitely. Kind of like the industrial sounding drums. Once again, industrial as fuck song. It's really hard hitting and memorable. And I feel like I did hear the song at some point. I mean, again, I was 13 years old. So it's kind of hazy as to like what I do recall other than Take a Picture. But when I listened to this album again, I recognized the song, so I must have heard it sometime on Much Music and didn't pay any attention to it. And I got a cameo in this music video, in this 90s as fuck music video. If it couldn't get any more 90s, it just got more 90s with this cameo.
Yeah, from Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah.
You called it. We actually saw the video. It was on a music channel up here in Canada, and we were like, who is that? Is that Kirsten Dunst? And you called it.
I literally was like...
I can see a Kirsten Dunst cameo anywhere.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, she looks familiar, and then I'm like, nah, what is she doing in a Filter video? And then I was like, yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
So kind of random. Not sure what Kirsten Dunst has to do with Filter, but maybe she had that party girl look for the video.
Yeah. Well, it was big time for her, late 90s.
That was kind of
Virgin Suicides into Spider-Man and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess she was kind of like popular at that time. So.
She was all the rage. We were just living in Kirsten Dunst's world back then.
Yeah, basically. That was before Jake Gyllenhaal. Right. So other than those three singles, I did actually like track 3, Captain Bligh. So upon listening to the beginning of the track, I actually think this song could have been a competitive opener to Welcome to the Fold. It's kind of just got that in your face thrash, like I'm here vibe. It's very driving. This song seriously helps to establish the industrial as fuck nature of this album.
Yeah.
Like the beginning of this album is just right in your face. Like with these two songs back to back, Welcome to the Fold and Captain Bligh, it's just like you're captivated, you're taken, you're just like, I want more, because it's so heavy and in your face. So I would say that's probably Captain Bligh is probably the non-single favorite song for me. How about you?
It could have been a good single, I think, Captain Bligh. There's a couple of good songs on here that could have made a good fourth single. They only did the 3, Welcome to the Fold, Take a Picture, and The Best Things. Yeah, for me, definitely favorite track is still Welcome to the Fold, because I think this is such a badass song and a single. And like I said, I remember seeing it on Much Music and really being blown away by the riff. We were talking about the riff and the attitude and Richard Patrick's lyrics, the kind of F you
The lyrics are so
in
good.
there. It's an epic song too. Like we were saying, almost 8 minutes long for Welcome to the Fold, and it has a lot of different parts to it. Obviously, it kicks off very, very heavy with a heavy riff into the chorus, but then it breaks down in the middle with congas and all sorts of percussion, and Mama give me my medicine, and then hold up, it makes me feel like a tall tree, and then it breaks back into the heaviness. So sorry, I snorted there, but it breaks back into the heaviness. So I always
So excited.
And then, I'm so excited about this song. But I thought that Welcome to the Fold, we were talking about that chorus that it makes you feel okay. That's such a I can't do it. I have to do it full voice, so I can't do that right now.
But that was pretty good.
That was not too bad. Yeah. Well, the
was
snort
not bad.
definitely helped. Helped me warm up my voice for that. Yes. Yeah. Captain Bligh. I thought that was a good one too. That was definitely probably my favorite song that I wasn't as familiar with going into this record. I thought that was really good. And like I said, I think all the best songs on this record really mix together the rock and electronic elements very well together. So I thought Captain Bligh was really cool. It's Gonna Kill Me. That was another one that we were talking about. I think being I think that one could have been a good contender for a single as well.
Yeah.
It felt very much like Hey Man, Nice Shot Part 2, because it had that same kind of bass line as Hey Man, Nice Shot. Filter, this album in general has a lot of great bass on it. I think there's a lot of great bass lines happening on here. So this song could have been on Short Bus. I've turned into Sean Connery. The Short Bus. The new Filter album, Short Bus. But anyways, It's Gonna Kill Me was good. And then, of course, Take a Picture as well was a good one for me. That one is it's a classic song. I don't think it's overplayed. I don't know why anybody would ever say that to you. That's an awful thing to say to somebody.
Not only ignorant people say that.
Only ignorant people would say that.
Ignorant, uneducated.
Yeah, well, and an artist that we really like as well, not a rock artist, but an electronic artist named Brother Tiger, did a cover of Filter's Take a Picture last year.
Yeah,
we
that
really
was
like
so
that version
good.
of it.
Yeah, you guys should really check out that cover. It's really good. He really keeps to the essence of the Filter version. It's definitely worth a listen.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot. He doesn't butcher it as a cover like many artists do when they do their take on it. It just sounds absolutely ridiculous. And it's more of a statement to be artistic rather than paying homage to the actual song. So Brother Tiger did an amazing job. I thoroughly enjoyed that
great
cover. Yeah.
And I think this was the mainstream song, like we were saying, for Filter to break through into being a charting band and getting a lot of hits. And this was really their breakthrough song. And it's such a great song. That's the thing about it. It really shows that Richard Patrick is a really great songwriter. Because if you can be dynamic like that and write these heavy ass songs and then write something that really resonates with people like that song does, and this is the sign of a good songwriter.
Exactly. And I suspect that there's a 12-string acoustic being used in the recording.
Sounds like there could be, yeah.
Because it's got that really warm vibe, kind of that dream feeling that you would kind of get from a 12-string sound. When you strum a 12-string, it's just got this I can't describe it. It feels like fairies are around me or something.
Yeah, it sounds like a pain in the ass to tune. But also very beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
You're such a musician.
Well, 12 strings are a pain in the ass to tune.
They're even more of a pain in the ass to play.
We'll try doing that, and then tuning it properly for the studio too. That can't be fun.
Night fucking meh.
Yeah, yeah, nightmare. Anyways, but yeah, Take a Picture. I think that we were both on the same boat there. That is probably the highlight of the record for me. It's still maybe because we are listening to it, we are so entrenched in those songs, and we're listening to it 25 years later that it's taking more for those other songs on the record to really make an impression on us. The same way that those three singles in particular, because we've had 25 years of really listening to those.
I think you're right, and I think we're putting those three singles on a pedestal, no doubt. Because they deserve to be, they are holier than thou songs.
Yes.
And just one more thing I kind of want to discuss about Take a Picture is the nature of the lyrics. I know this song was also very interesting in the sense of lyrically, because from what I understand from research is that the lyrics are about when he was on a plane one time. He got belligerently drunk. Am I drunk right now?
Yeah,
Belligerently
drunk.
Belligerently drunk,
Yeah.
and he felt vulnerable and kind of like naked, I guess is what he's describing in the song.
Yeah.
Because he's acting like a belligerent drunk, and the airplane, staff are trying to, deal with him, and he feels vulnerable, and you're kind of like a baby, you know what I mean? So, and then like it kind of turns at the end, and then he starts, cursing his dad and being like, what do you think about your son now? You didn't think I could like make it, but look at this.
Yeah.
So, lots of messaging going on in there, and yeah, it's an interesting amalgamation of ideas.
Well, it's the best songs are the ones that are super catchy and radio friendly, but still include some sort of personal. Sorry, we're making sure our dog isn't getting in anything. But yeah, it's a good single when it mixes together a catchy melody with meaningful lyrics, and so people sing the song, but they don't necessarily know the story behind it. So that's very cool that you provided that.
Yeah, again, and further to that, it's very cool how towards the end of the song we hear that scream.
Yeah.
Whereas we didn't hear it at all during the song, and then at the end we get it. The "Hey Dad,
Yeah.
what do you think about your son now?"
Yeah, go Danny. Yeah.
Yeah. Give me karaoke.
Yeah,
let's
find a karaoke place. Like we're doing Take a Picture tonight.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
25 years of Title of Record, everybody.
Everybody
Thank you very much.
take a spot in line for this performance.
Thank you very much, everybody. All right. Well, I think we pretty much covered it. Like, kind of covered all of our thoughts about Filter Title of Record and celebrating 25 years. Came out on August the 24th, back in 1999. Hard to believe it's been 25 years, and we are old as fuck.
Yes, we are. And I would actually like to add one more critique of this that I think is worth mentioning before we sign off here. We noticed that basically we were in agreement that the album could have ended at Take a Picture.
Yes.
One thing that we noticed is, for any first-time listeners, we'll just let you know that the album does seem to trail off towards the end. It seems to drag on a little bit. The remainder songs, you can hear that Filter recipe in the songs, but it's just a little bit slow. It's slow, so like I think the album could have just stopped at Take a Picture, but obviously you can't stop at 6 tracks on a full-length release. You have to have some other songs in there to cushion and fill. So
it's hard. It's like, it sucks that there is filler on here. Like I said, we weren't into these songs 25 years ago. So maybe if we were one of those people that picked up Title of Record when it first came out on CD or whatever, maybe we would be a little bit more in tune with some of the later songs on this record. But I'm definitely agreeing with you that the first half is definitely the best. It's a little bit front loaded, but it's a hell of a front half.
Oh gosh, couldn't have said it any better. Just took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. So if you were to give Title of Record I guess a 25 years later score out of 5, what would you give Title of Record by Filter?
4.
A 4.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Were you expecting less?
Maybe.
Okay.
We only liked half of the album.
I know. Truthfully, I was
question.
no, but like truthfully, I was just like didn't want to say it. My mind was kind of around a 3.7.
That's okay.
3.5, 3.
You got to be honest.
I know.
The audience demands honesty when we are
know.
talking about these
I was
releases,
rounding
Danielle.
up. I was rounding up 3.7 to 4.
Yeah. And you don't have to be too nice. You can be,
I know, and that's
you
why
can be mean.
that's why I said the album should have fucking ended at Take a Picture. So I am being critical.
Yes.
But I gave it. I originally gave it a 4 because the songs that I do like, I like a lot.
Yeah, me too.
And they're so good. So just based on the quality and how much I like the good songs, 4. The album as a whole, 3.5, 3.7.
I will go with a 3 to a 3.5 as well, I would say. Yeah, very front loaded, not quite as strong as I hoped it would be, although there are a couple extra songs on here that I would enjoy and add into the playlist. So I think it's a great record. It maybe not as strong as the singles are. As the singles definitely, I think, make this album stronger than it would be otherwise, but otherwise I think it's a strong release.
The singles make me pay attention to the rest of the album.
Yeah, which is pretty much the point, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, there are albums that we've talked about in the past, like the original Morning View album by Incubus. Sorry to kind of talk about another band here, but yes, their singles are good, but they didn't make me want to listen to the album. Like, I listened to the album and I liked the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like the original version. So there are albums, you know, out there where, like, I guess the singles would make you listen. I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah.
I need something to eat.
Well, and there's marketing, and the singles are there to sell
Hungry.
the album. So we're gonna get something to eat. Thank you very much for watching this lengthy conversation about 25 years of Filter's title of record. Let us know what you thought or think of the album in the comments below. Whether you grew up with the album, if you're one of those people that heard it when it came out back in 1999, or if you're somebody who's just been listening recently, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like this video. We'd appreciate that. Toss us a thumbs up for Danielle and I. Subscribe to us here on the channel if you like this video, and we talk about, I talk about, Danielle occasionally comes on the channel. We talk about rock music and all sorts of fun stuff. Follow me on social media across platforms at Nick Chino Music, and yeah, we'll see you guys again for another video here on the channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.
Bye.